Hello, so time for another webcam stream. I'm hoping the audio's working because it looks like YouTube is doing the typical thing where it's not showing my audio levels again, which seems to be again that YouTube can't actually keep a feature that works properly. So let me know if you can hear me as soon as people join the chat, and maybe notifications haven't been sent out either. Oh wait, no, they have, because it just says now that there's people on and likes. Okay, it's just being slow. Right, can you hear me fine, thin, softer? Because at the moment, YouTube is doing the thing where it won't actually tell me. Good, right, so that's working fine then. It's just they've done the thing again where it won't actually show audio levels on the control panel, which is really useful. Right, Mike? So I've got this Italian helmet on again. Quite nice. I wish the labels, well, not labels, like the stamps inside were still visible, because I'd be interested in knowing, is this an actual World War II one, or is this a post-World War II one? But no, I won't be getting the S10 out for now. I'm just wearing the Italian helmet. So hello to everybody joining. Don't forget to like the stream, and don't forget, if you want to support me, you can either donate via Super Chat there, you can donate via Patreon below, or you can buy the merchandise, which gives me a bit of money. Let me just put the flare there. I don't want that to fall off the bed. So hoodies, mugs, things like that. There you go. But yeah, I'm really liking this Italian helmet, to be honest. That's cool. Yeah, Polish MP4s are cheap, but they're all right. I mean, they're cheap filter masks, but they're quite well made ones at least. I'm just going to see on this if I can adjust the chin strap and make it a bit tighter, so the helmet actually, pulls more down on my head. Not sure if it's done it now, but because ideally it's meant to keep sitting like that rather than sort of doing that. But yeah, I've got the L1 and the L2 suit. You asked me that the other day, Red Hand Productions, and I don't really go hunting, so no, not really, I'd guess. Well, if you want the real reason, Lena, it's because they weren't actually ready for the war when they joined it. Mussolini should have never joined up with Hitler. That was the real reason Italy lost World War II. No, I've not actually got an American M1. I've got an M1 clone that I think is either Norwegian or Danish. I'm trying to remember which. So it's exactly like an M1, just not a US-built one, because lots of countries bought production licenses for the US M1. But no, I don't actually have a US M1. The problem is, Daniel, flare guns over here are a bit more restricted on what you can and can't buy. So I've not really got much interest in that. But I did see there's a Forgotten Weapons one on like a pressurized English flare gun that looked quite cool and weird. But best steel pot in my collection, probably my East German M56. This is pretty high up on the list, though. The other ones I've got that I really like is the Yugoslavian Stahlhelm, because that's, again, like a German Stahlhelm, slightly different shape, very good liner. This Italian M33 is very good. And what's some of the other ones I really like I've got? Soviet SSH shorties I quite like. Cheers, Laser. Oh, but thanks for the donation anyway. But yeah, if you didn't see earlier, I've ordered that Scott mask. There was one that wasn't on Amazon Prime, so it's going to be a couple of extra days on delivery, but it was £5 cheaper. So I got one for 25 quid in the end. So as soon as that comes, I'll do a video on it and feature it in the stream. But I think this was £20 odd, like under 30, like high 20s, I think it was. You could get cheaper ones if you bought the retrofitted Yugoslavian ones, where if you just wanted it as a helmet, that might be better. If you wanted it closer to an original Italian M33, then you obviously got the Italian one. Right, see you, Laser. How many GP5s do I have? Regular GP5, the GP5M, a GP5M in grey, as well as the one I've got in black, and another GP5 that's size 2, because I've got a size 2 and a size 3 GP5. So 4 GP5s, if you count on GP5Ms. And obviously, if you include things like Polish OM14s, Soviet Shum 41s, and all those, I've got a lot of Shum 41, shum style masks, whatever you want to call them, but actual GP5s. 2 of those and 2 GP5Ms. That's interesting, Bartos. I already answered that one, Celtic Productions. As I said no, the answer is still no. Well, there are Italian gas masks. Sadly, I only have the Spaziani, but there's things like the Italian T35s and like later ones. If you can find good filters on eBay, then yes. But, you know, eBay is not like a company that sells things. eBay is a site where people can list whatever. Well, voice diaphragms, I'd say increase the quality of a mask. I mean, if you have a really crap voice diaphragm that might split easily, then it makes the mask more vulnerable. But in general, voice diaphragms are good. Any looks cool. French M51, if you put a safe filter on it, because I think the M51 looks pretty creepy. Oh yeah, the 12 Days of Christmas with but with gas masks. Apparently the Mark V tortoise or turtle helmet is really comfortable, but they're pretty rare because obviously the Mark V liner is the one that isn't known very well. Because obviously with the British helmets before the Mark VI, you did actually have the Mark V, which is literally the Mark IV helmet, but with a really comfortable good liner in it. But they're very rare apparently. I've seen pictures of them. But what am I doing for Halloween? I'll do a Halloween special. I'm not saying what that is yet, mostly because I don't really know. But otherwise, not really much. That's interesting. Is that just something like where it irritates your skin or whatever, or is it the particular one you've got? Which one's the SSH68M? Is that the Kevlar version of the? Let's have a look. Ah, yeah, it's the Kevlar version, isn't it, of the SSH68? It looks really cool though, but yeah, finding one I imagine is quite difficult. Yeah, that's what I thought, Chris, but I'll see if I can get you the thing. There is a Mark V helmet, but it's apparently just a Mark IV helmet with a different liner. Let's see. Here you go. Basically, what it is, as I said, is that there was the Mark III helmet, then the Mark IV, and then the Mark IV, the improved liner, which is technically the Mark V. But well, there's lots of pictures of Canadians in World War II wearing both the Brodie sort of Mark II helmets and the Mark IIIs. So again, like I said, it's obviously most people, the helmet shell is still the same thing. All it is an improved liner. So it's a bit like, I guess, people calling the GP5M the GP6. But yeah, like I was saying, the actual helmet shell is still the Mark IV, Chris. But like I'm saying, I think it's technically like, yeah, that would be what the Mark V is classed as. But again, like you're saying, the official service helmets are Mark IV, then Mark VI. That sounds cool, Finsofter. Well, the thing I've said before is I would not be able to look after a World War I mask properly. So probably not. I think you forgot a bit of the comment now, Iron Man. Is that, and then pistol proof. As it's a steel pot, yes and no, depends on what kind of pistol rounds, but a lot of these steel pots would stop 9mm and 45 ACP at certain ranges. But things like the Tokarev rounds will go straight through them. But, you know, they were pretty good for the time they were made, obviously the 1930s. The main thing is it will massively increase your survivability from shrapnel and, you know, bricks and stuff flying around when shells are exploding. If I can think of a funny one for Christmas, I suppose I could do the 12 Days of Christmas, but a Soviet version. It depends how pure it is, email, because part of the problem with jet lighters is the purity of the stuff that sticks them up. Go ahead, Rich. It's better than people spamming F or whatever other shit in the chat. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this Italian helmet. I don't know why. I think it's quite aesthetic. The other reason I like it, let me see if I can get a picture up. 1984 movie. In the 1984 movie, well, one of them, because there's more than one 1984 movie, but the famous one with John Hurt in. I'm seeing if I can find a picture of the soldiers, because I think they all have these helmets like painted jet black in that. There you go. I've not got the weird helmet that they were sometimes issued with Rebel Friend, but I know the one you mean, the Stuckman or Stillman helmet, whatever it was called. It's hard to say, Iron Man. With the German helmet I've got, it's not really much thicker. The thing is, for some reason, lots of people seem to think the Stahlhelm is like the best helmet ever made. And it's definitely a good helmet, but I think for some reason it seems to have this kind of mystique about it. Maybe because it's Nazi Germany, I don't know. But in reality, I don't think Stahlhelm's offered really, other than maybe if they covered a bit more of your head, any better protection than pretty much any of the other things. You know, because it still ends up being steel. A slight bit of steel thickness isn't really going to change how much it protects from shrapnel and stuff like that. Because the one I've got, the thickest helmet I think I have is technically my Swiss Stahlhelm. That actually seems to be the thickest. But the thing is as well, the East German M56 is pretty thin, but when ballistics tests are carried out on it, it's one of the best because of the angle of the helmet. So again, I think a lot of the time it comes down to just how well made the helmet is rather than the... It's also a bit to do with heat tempering, isn't it? Because I've heard sometimes there can be helmets that have bad heat tempering, and they can just be awful. Yeah, it wouldn't be a Soviet filter though, would it, Richard? Yeah, the thing is though, the Stahlhelms are good. They're definitely good helmets, but they're, you know, yeah, I suppose what you mean with the katana thing is, you know, folded 1,000 times magic sword. Probably my Mark 7 helmet, Violet. Because the British Mark 7 is good enough. You know, now we've seen ballistic tests on it, it's definitely good enough. I find it quite comfortable as well. But a lot of these steel pots would be good enough for most people. You know, they're not going to be as good against handgun rounds, but against flying debris and shrapnel, they still work. Okay, so it's just the rolled edge, is it, on that makes it look thicker rather than the actual... Right, I'll try and explain this. With helmets, a lot of the blunt force thing depends on the liner. Right, this is harder to get off my chin. Yeah. So it depends how the liner works on the helmet. Some liners won't absorb shock very well compared to others. A helmet is always going to be better than nothing if something hits you in the head. And a helmet like this, I imagine, would give you more blunt force protection than something as simple as a bump cap. Yeah, so yeah, an old like Soviet SSH-40 or something like that, yes, it would give you much better head protection and no helmet. But actual construction helmets and hard hats are designed in a way that, you know, like the shell absorbs more of the shock. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with steel helmets. This is the thing. Like, yes, for frontline combat use, they are outdated compared to Kevlar and everything. But the thing is, like, let me get the Mark 6 helmet because it's sat here. So here's a British Mark 6A Kevlar helmet. You know, the good Mark 6. It's a lot heavier than the this one. So this helmet, I know this is not like the best example of a Kevlar one. If I did this up, bear with me a moment. I'm gonna have to try and recenter this bloody strap in a minute. So my chin actually goes into the chin bit. That's interesting, Chris. But yeah, the thing is, I do know there's been historically helmets that have been better and worse for, like, you know, how much damage that goes into your head if you get you know. Yeah, they could do a titanium one, I guess, but right, let's see if I can get these straps where they're meant to be. Is it because this one's gone too tight? Or it might be the back bit I have to adjust. I bloody hate I bloody hate these 3-point strap helmets. That's roughly right now, but it's not comfortable. But yeah, so the thing is, obviously, something like the Mark 6A does give more ballistic protection than the steel pot. But the funny thing is, well, how that covers the head and all that. If I get this one back off. Yep. Kevlar hat. I still find personally, I know a lot of people like more modern liners and all that. I still personally find a load of these steel pots, for me at least, especially these kind of retro line systems, I just find them way more comfortable. Just, you know, a simple 2-point, you know, strap like this. My favourite liner system in any of the helmets I actually have is the M5983, whatever it's called, Yugoslavian helmet, where it's a liner similar to this one, but it's got a like 2-stage adjustable strap where you just, you know, pull it like at each side, a bit like gas mask straps, under your chin to tighten it. And the thing is, it's simple and it works. Yeah, M5985, that's it, Stug, thank you. Yeah, I have, because it's actually the East German one, not the Czech one, because it's got like the NVA markings in it. What do you mean won't be compatible with Cold War surplus? They didn't actually offer poor protection, Iron Man, because Brody helmets, when they went into service, massively increased the survivability of soldiers wearing them. So they did their job. The whole point was, prior to World War One, soldiers didn't have steel pot helmets. I mean, obviously, if you go back to medieval times, they did. But the point was that soldiers had often like soft caps, berets, things like that, or no headgear. And they often, you know, they had a massive amount of casualties and deaths from shrapnel and like bricks and stones thrown up from shells exploding. As soon as the Brodies and everything came into service, you know, and the French Adrian helmets and the German Stahlhelms, the casualties massively dropped. So, yeah, they did their job. Again, you could say a Brody doesn't cover enough of the head or whatever, but they were cheap to mass produce, and it meant that the soldiers survived. The DDR, as in East Germany, used both cheek filter masks. I think they bought M10s, but they also used all the things like Shum 41s, the Shums, and all those MM1s. So they basically just used a big mix of Soviet bloc kind of stuff. The Danish World War II helmet, was this the one somebody said about the other day? It might even have been you. It was one that looked quite interesting. Yeah, it's the one that looks a bit like the East German M56, isn't it? If I see one on eBay cheap enough, I might get one at some point because I like the look of that. Let me just have a look. Danish helmet. Most of the ones coming up are the there's one that's like 50 quid. I don't know if I'd pay that for it, but a lot of the ones coming up are the M1 Danish helmets like I have, you know, the US M1 clones. But yeah, it's an interesting shape, isn't it? But I've ordered another Swiss Stahlhelm that's coming sort of in about a week. Yeah, I think the reason they're so oversized, Iron Man, was just probably for very broad head protection. Normally they're about 30 quid, Potato Farmer. If you get ones people have 3D printed, they're generally a bit cheaper. Yep, here's a mechanical keyboard. That's interesting. Let's have a look. I can see the cloth visor that was for him, which is quite cool. Let me just search turtle helmet. I've got quite a few turtles already. It's just because they're the one that seems to turn up at car boot sales quite a lot over here. I'm really tempted to finally, at some point, buy a Riot thing for my Mark 6, though. Because a Mark 6 with a Riot visor might actually be alright. You know, it'd actually have a purpose other than it stops nothing. Let's just try Mark 4 helmet and see what comes up. Now, I can't spot easily, but it doesn't matter. As I've said before with all masks and that, if I spot like one of those Romanian masks for a good price, I'll buy it. If it's very expensive for what it is, no. Well, as I've said quite a lot of times, Leshen, the problem is a lot of the ones sold online are like replicas, not the real ones, that aren't made from titanium. I imagine they probably are, Chris, like a lot of that British stuff, but it'd be worth trying it for a video. Let's have a look at the Polish WZ-28 helmet then. That's quite interesting. I know about the WZ-31 because I read up about that before, so it's a weird looking thing. It looks like it would give good head coverage though, but yeah, it's got a very big sort of brim on it, hasn't it? Was it a case of it just cost too much for the Poles to make it? Because I know that's often why a lot of these sort of helmet projects fail, is just they work out that, you know, for the price it's costing them and like time to make them, it's better just to buy a design from somebody else or whatever. Because I know the WZ-32 or whatever it was, they ended up getting, like, buying the license to a liner production system from the French or something, so they could actually make the liners cheaply and easily, rather than, you know, like spending ages trying to figure out how to make a good liner. Can you at least buy Turkish surplus in Turkey? Recommendations on NBC suits, old rubber NBC suits, or you know, like charcoal impregnated ones if you can find them in good condition. I've got a Northern Ireland one, Iron Man, so there's not much point me getting a Vietnam one because they're pretty much the same thing. I'm in the UK or England, Suhan. What do you mean by ballistics test parcels on helmets or what? Well, definitely CS gas, because CS, well, it's gas because it's actually a powder particulate. That's used by police, military, and everything CS. Obviously, potentially nastier things could be used, but I think in most scenarios, CS. You have to do some old-fashioned bartering, will you, Chris, to get that? Which one do you mean by the soft armor, like my police vest, Iron Man? If you put a flak jacket on top of the police vest, it'll be a bit better ballistically, but it still wouldn't stop it would only be 3A at the most. It's never going to be level 3, like in terms of stopping rifle fire. The ECBA is the best armor I've got, really. I mean, in theory, if I bought ceramic plates for my Mark IV Osprey, that would be my best body armor. But the ECBA is the one I actually generally like the most, just because it's quite comfortable. What's my favourite gas mask? The Avon CT12. I'm pretty sure the GP2 was a thing, wasn't it? Wasn't that the Soviet civil mask of World War II? But I think with the GPs, like we were saying about the Mark V helmets earlier, there's technically ones that don't exist, either like they were prototypes or they just jumped the numbers. Part-time, ask for bacon. I work weekends. I volunteer on Thursdays as well. I wonder what this helmet would look like if I wore it backwards, just out of interest. Because I've got my glasses on, it's quite hard to get these off and on now. I've done that strap, so let's just see what it's like at the back if I wore it this way. It just looks quite round, doesn't it, if you wear it at the back? You still work as a helmet, but you've got a big vent hole in your forehead. Yeah, it looks more like the US helmet. Yeah, I suppose you're right this way around, yeah. Yes, with Stauhelms, I have... Let me just get this off. I'll put it back round the right way. Might just put the liner strap back for a minute and just have it like that. Right, with Stauhelms, I've got an actual German World War II one, but I don't know which model it is. And when I put a video on of it, people kept arguing in the comments which model it was, so I never found out. It's rusty and it's got no liner in it. I've got a Swiss M18 Stauhelm, whatever they're called, but that's not got a liner. But I ordered another one today with a liner, so I'll finally be able to do a proper video on that. I've got an East German M56 Stauhelm, and I've got a West German fireman's helmet, which is like a Stauhelm shell, but it's aluminium. No, I don't have a parachute. I have no need for a parachute. Well, I've quit smoking, Iron Man, but I suppose after a battle, why not? It wouldn't actually fit on my SLR when I tried a sling for it before, but I didn't use a specific SLR sling, so I might try that at some point. But where it hangs up on the wall, it doesn't really need a sling. All right, Andre. A rubber NBC suit or a fabric NBC suit? With a rubber NBC suit, you just get sort of a damp cloth and wipe it down. Well, that wouldn't decontaminate it, but if you just mean for literally cleaning it. The oldest gas mask I have, Jackie, is probably one of my interwar masks. So my Finnish M39, my German Volksmask 37. There's quite a few it could be, because on a lot of them, sadly, the dates have just worn off the rubbers because they're old. What was my favourite type of music? Probably prog rock, Iron Man. Yeah, I mean, you could buy one, couldn't you, just for the sake of owning a parachute? But personally, I wouldn't, just because it would take up too much space for something I'm never going to use. Well, my favourite gas mask is still the Avon CT12. Yeah, Avon CT12. I will put that strap back on again. Let's get my glasses off again so I don't damage them. Well, as I've said quite a few times before, the Israeli gas masks are good enough. The M15 is obviously better than the 4A1, but both are all right. Can't seem to get that comfortably over my ear now, the glasses. It's weird. When you say scales, Iron Man, do you mean as in scales on my skin? Weighing scales? What do you mean? Scales on a knife handle? That's got scales on it. As I said earlier in the stream when that was asked random, sold the Mark 7. Because I've never been able to sort out a liner I actually like in the, what was it? The sort of Pascut style helmet I had. Even though that would have originally been my choice. So I'll probably just go to the Mark 7 now because I find it really comfortable. Sometimes, though, Chris, I get people that incorrectly, when somebody says what's my favourite mask, well, they'll try and guess and they'll get it wrong. Like, when people say S10 and FM12, I can get that, but even though it's not technically correct, but sometimes I'll get people who say, like, just a really random mask. No, my grandparents have an old rotary phone, which I assume they never use, because they've actually got like a more modern phone whenever they want to call somebody, but they have got a rotary phone plugged in one of the rooms. But no, I don't have one. I have no need for one. Most of the calls I make are from my mobile, not actually a house phone. Well, Connor, you're gone now, but you'd want a tinfoil hat for that, I think. Oh, yeah, there's different sets of scales I've got, Iron Man. The best one for that is like pet scales or baby scales, which I've got, which I've used for weighing masks. Because it's quite accurate to a small number, that one, but it'll go up to like 10 kilos or something, so it'll work for any helmet. Whereas like kitchen scales don't normally go high enough for some helmets, and the bit's too small to put them on. And like floor scales for standing on generally aren't sensitive enough for helmets. As in you are, Spike. That sounds cool enough, but yeah, I've never really seen the fuss of getting a blank firing two-tone, but sadly not. Teespring don't do a camo option as of yet. Is there actually an Italian M90? Yes, because I'm searching it, but I'm only getting pictures of the thing. I do like the Swiss M90 mask, if that was the name of it. Yeah, the Swiss M90 gas mask. I always like the look of it, but I've never seen one for sale. Although for some reason, when you type Swiss M90 gas masks, there's pictures of the Yugoslavian M1 coming up and the Fuchida. I've spotted one now that says Italian M90. Yeah, that looks kind of cool. But yeah, the SM90, the Swiss one, I quite like the look of. I don't see why not, Andre. Well, better than the dog dying of gas. Yeah, I like quite a lot of the Russian camo patterns. Yeah, it's a shame, Chris, but it does look like a cool mask. I'm afraid I can't answer you about that gaming Goomba because I do not know why this has popped up for you. So, are you subscribed to me, or is it saying it recommended it even though you weren't subscribed? But I can answer you. YouTube does weird recommendation things sometimes, where they'll push videos more often when they want to for certain channels, and then like not to even people who are subbed and regularly watch now and again. So it could just be that you've fallen off the side of one of those, where YouTube's at the moment deciding that more people need to see my videos, so you're going to get it even if you don't want to see it. We were talking about Russian camo just now. Yeah, when people do like the stream, you're completely right there, email. YouTube does recommend it more, which is why people should always click like. Actually, I think even people clicking dislike helps, but it just seems because it's YouTube considers it more engagement with a video. You sure you didn't watch something like Top 10 Scariest Gas Masks or something, Gaming Goomba? That's the only thing I can guess. New song. Wow. Well done, YouTube. Let me look up the SMO3 then. But there's a really weird one that's come up when I've searched that called the M42A2. I don't know if that's the thing, that's weird looking. It has got the Swiss sort of voice diaphragm cover on it, so it might. It goes to a 502 Battle Gateway. I guess I will never know. If you want a camo that's got both good macro and micro, I would recommend maybe Soviet SS Lito, German Flecktarn. There's obviously more camos than that, but I was trying to think off the ones on top of my head. Sadly, not many to do with buying surplus. Probably MTP, just because the color palette works in more areas, but DPM's a classic. But there's also like Desert DPM, isn't there, as well? But oh, so that's a free port SM90, okay. I'm really confused now, Chris, actually, with what I managed to find. No, it wasn't the US one, because I've just found the M42A one. Let me get that picture back up if I... So I'll search what I searched before, which was SMO3. And then I'll just link to the picture I found, if it lets me, because as it was saying, like, bad link or whatever. This one definitely looks Swiss that's come up. Yeah, I think this one's got free filter ports, so this is probably the one you're on about. But the eyepieces look a bit different than the SM90, don't they? Or do they? Or is that just because the cheeks are throwing me off? I really don't know. I think it might be the cheeks that are throwing me off with the filter ports, but that's the one I found and thought, wow, that looks weird. That's cool email. If you can, try and find the older Flecktarn stuff, which was a lot more green and orange rather than brown, because it looks better when it's green and orange, and it has better contrast. Some of the suits in Stalker would work, just because they're actually full body suits. Any game that has a spacesuit kind of thing in would technically work, or like proper hazmat suits. But in terms of like game specific things, I can't really think. A couple of lighter videos did years and years ago, Gaming Goomba. As in the top 10 scariest gas mask videos has. If I look on my real-time videos at what's currently getting the most views, lighter videos, a thing about zeroing air rifle scopes that YouTube then demonetized. But otherwise, I really don't know, I'm afraid. It could be a lighter video, it could be a gas mask video. Who knows? All right, yeah, it's just the angle of it then. Thanks, Chris. Well, as I've said over and over again, I really like the Chernobyl miniseries. I'll probably rewatch that again quite soon. I've got it on Blu-ray now. I assume astronaut suits would have to work against chemical weapons because they fully cover the body and they're like pressurized, aren't they? Whether or not stuff would eventually eat into them, I don't know. But not that I can think of off the top of my head. Just think there's videos, of course, I would redo to a better quality, but you can say that about any of the old videos, really. I think they're a bit crap looking back. I'll be on another 20 minutes. I've got a panto rehearsal tonight at 8, so that's where I'm going tonight, so I wasn't streaming at 8. Well, I did do one, yeah, about the Metro Cops masks and stuff like that, and yeah, I did one about like what gas mask are in Killing Floor 2 or whatever. Panto rehearsal, pantomime, you know, what we have as like a comedy thing for kids in the UK. We do like a charity one every year. Well, I'm sure you don't really have a friend called Bend Over, do you? Because you've probably also got a friend called Mo Lester. But if it really is his birthday, happy birthday. What's my favourite Canadian gas mask? The C4, but I don't have one. Out of the Canadian masks I've got, which is one, the C3. Yeah, Humongous, that's another one. Hello, Boris, aren't you meant to be running the country at the moment? What is my favourite rifle? The SLR behind me. Yeah, I don't know if the Combine soldiers, if it's like full, I suppose you don't see any of their skin, do you? So I suppose, yeah, it might work. It depends if it's permeable material or not. What, as in physically being hit by an SLR? Yeah, that would hurt, but it would hurt if somebody butt stroked you with most rifles. Yeah, that's another one, Boris. What were some of the other ones I liked? Willie Stroker, that's another good name like that. 308, so NATO. 303 is the English Lee Enfield up there, or British Lee Enfield rifle. 308 is very similar in power to 303, but 762 NATO by 51. 762 by 51 millimeter, as in 762 NATO. That's 308. I don't know with how they've deactivated it, if it would work or not, and because SLR bayonet seems to be stupidly overpriced, I've never bought one and found out. Soviet mask would be the Shums, SHMS. Yeah, there's one up there. It's just very hard to see with all the masks on it. I have to have a look, Peach. I haven't seen the video on that. I know you were saying on Twitch you were making them and all that, but I don't think I've actually seen the videos. Hello, Challenger one. I mean, yeah, if the material would still work, it would still work. But yeah, you probably wouldn't see as well as a Combine Elite. Yeah, Mike Oxlong. Take an old Walkman or portable cassette player and take out the head of it and put it in the outside. How do you mean exactly, Andre? I'm a bit confused what you said there. It sounds interesting. I can't remember if Peach said on Twitch about, when we were watching your streams about the scales he did for a knife. Yeah, because in the original concept art, the Metro Cop masks are PMG. What do you mean, like the playhead? I'm still confused. Well, those masks might have come along anyway, General. You never know with all this history stuff, because that's why I want to do an alternative history stream at some point this week, where people try and speculate what would happen if something hadn't happened or something had happened. All right, see you. I'm still on for another 15 minutes, Adam, so make it count. Yeah, we'll do. Although it might just be rehearsing a couple of scenes over and over and over again tonight, which ends up being a bit boring. Well, the problem is, Scott, I'd love to do stuff like that, but because I'm in the UK, I can't really test helmets very well with firearms. But American channels, as long as they're not doing it to rare helmets, I find that very interesting to see what they will and won't stand up to. That one doesn't even work, Boris. What is the worst gas mask? For me, the pewter gas mask I've got. How could you actually dig up mustard gas, though, Peach? Was it like a mustard gas shell? I'd say the Soviets, General. It wasn't until like the 70s or 80s that NATO started getting the advantage in terms of like much better computer-controlled equipment. Yeah, I suppose Hugh Janus would work, Boris. Yeah, well, we were saying that email, but I'm just find it interesting to see what some helmets can stand up to, because it does give you an idea. Especially, the thing is, especially when you see them test against pistol rounds, the higher velocity pistol rounds they survive does give you some idea of how shrapnel proof they are as well. Yeah, that's the entire point, Justin. They were for shrapnel in World War One. And then obviously later on, you know, when they came up with Kevlar helmets, they got better and better against pistol rounds. But primarily, helmets like this are still designed to stop, you know, shrapnel. Yeah, correct, Challenger, because it was like the US Pascat and others like that, which were the first technically bulletproof helmets. I don't know when those titanium helmets originally came out, but it's basically you can sometimes be very lucky if you've got a helmet on and somebody shoots you with a rifle round if it just hits at the wrong angle and deflects. But yeah, for the most part, these sort of helmets will only give you some protection from pistol rounds, but decent shrapnel protection. Could do, Chris. I'm just trying to think, because I generally try and read a few different sources to get different ideas, but yeah, I mean, for me, like I say, in the most part I might use gas mask and respirator wiki. I might try and find things like you're saying, gas mask lexicon and all those, but often it's just a case of seeing what info you can dig up and seeing how valid it sounds. Sounds like communist school was very fun, C4. Here is the mustard gas. Yeah, that would definitely happen, email. Because that's what we were saying earlier with, I don't know if you're on the chat, but the problem is, with we were saying before with helmets and things like that, is there's certain impacts that would still break your neck, cause, you know, like hemorrhaging in the brain and stuff like that, because of just how helmet liners and things like that work. Well, as we were saying earlier, Stow helmets from World War II are very good. But US M1 helmets are also very good. Soviet SSH-40 helmets are good. These Italian M33 helmets are really good. I think in general it just depends, you know, how much coverage it gives, and then hoping that the shrapnel hits you in an area the helmet's covering. What's my favourite German gas mask? Well, out of all the ones, probably the M2000, but I don't own that. Out of all the ones I've got, probably the Volksmask 37. Yeah, but the thing is, Peach, you've got different kinds of liners on helmets, and some are better than others. That's the sort of problem as well. But again, the problem is if too much energy transfers into it, the liner isn't going to do enough to deaccelerate the helmet from just going, into your head. Oh, that's cool. You managed to get one though, leaving Zeus. My favourite strange gas mask, maybe the Polish SR1 casualty mask. They're not gas masks, but the PTM ones behind me I really like. They're Fallout masks. I think look really cool and are interesting. Just because you don't see many weird cotton masks like that. What did you think of something strange? Favourite tanks in World War One and World War Two? I don't really know enough about World War One tanks. The British Mother tanks, whatever they were called, were quite interesting. Just the giant tanks. In terms of World War Two, aesthetically, the King Tiger, but in terms of practicality, the Sherman. Like later model Shermans, just because Shermans were a very good mass-producible tank. Again, they didn't have the best armor of the tanks. They weren't the fastest tanks, and all this sort of stuff, but they were mass-producible. So tanks like the T-34-85 and the Shermans were just general, war-winning tanks because you could mass-produce them. Going back to this whole logistics thing again. Whereas things like the King Tiger, as much as tank for tank, they were very good. They were too heavy for the engines they were built on, and Germany couldn't really afford to produce them. That sounds actually very cool, OC4, all that sort of stuff. Amazon sometimes, but yeah, that's the problem. Like I said before, is I generally always use eBay for deactivated guns. D&B Militaria I've bought from. I would recommend blades and bows, but they've closed down now, sadly. You can also get deact grenades and stuff from D&B Militaria and bayonets. But yeah, sadly, a lot of the places have closed down now. What? So it looks more like an MG42? You mean, Justin? Well, yeah, the problem is, email, that obviously the engine was originally developed for the Panther when the Panther wasn't even meant to weigh as much as it did in its final stage. And then they put that same engine into the Tiger and King Tiger each time, putting more and more armor and heavier guns on, especially because they had the 88 on the obviously Tiger and King Tiger, which was a lot heavier. So yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, Chris, you didn't come up with like a little World War II, like pre-war tankette style tank like the Italians had, but like puts the armor of the King Tiger on it. Well, the Panzer IV was actually probably one of Germany's best tanks, just because it wasn't so over complicated. But the problem was, what the German scientists apparently originally wanted to do with the Panther was make something like the T-34. So something a bit more armored than the Panzer IV. With quite a good high velocity gun and all that, but Hitler was like, nine, 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 nine. That's still cool that you can buy something as cheap as that and then repair it. I wonder how much of a bow noise this helmet makes. Oh, that's really good. Don't know how well that comes across the mic, but yeah, ringing right in my ears now. But in my head, that is very loud. The East German helmet makes a really good bow dong if you hit it with like a metal pen. I might pick up in a minute. What mask did you get, Leshan? Glad you enjoyed the videos. Oh, the funniest thing is Germany's most efficient tank during the war wasn't even a tank, it was the Stug, the Sturmgeschütz, because it was just simple and mass producible. And the reason it had such a kill-death ratio is they had enough of them where they could support each other. But then, of course, it was make less and less really overcomplicated, expensive things. Oh. Because it's like with the, what was it? The Elephant, wasn't it? The, like Porsche tank or whatever it was, the massive tank destroyer thing. The issue they had with that was apparently they didn't put machine guns on it, so they were just overwhelmed by infantry. Even though, yeah, it was really good frontal armor and had a really good gun. Oh, look, you know, they broke down whatever, you couldn't reverse them. There's no MGs on it or whatever to defend the tank from, like, approaching infantry. Oh, look, it's just been blown up by infantry. I've got the Italian helmet on again. I was saying just now, Shot Zombie, this makes a very nice bell-ringing noise if you hit it with a metal pen. But, unfortunately, the M56 makes an even better noise. When I get the Swiss helmet soon, though, I wonder if that will make a very loud bell-ringing noise because of how, like, shaped like that is, the Swiss helmet. I mean, Poland was mostly as fuck, though, because they got attacked by two superpowers at once during World War II. Yeah, when somebody was on about that on another stream, random sob. It might have been Teach, and it was it's the one they used for the Jawas, wasn't it? In Star Wars. But yeah, out of all the helmets I've got at the moment, Shot Zombie, out of all the ones I've done that to, the M56 rings the best. But maybe I'll have to do a video comparing the ring noises of different helmets. Putting the word helmet and ring together. Well, it depends. If you consider the Cold War up until the 80s and everything, or like 91 when it ended, the S10. Mid-Cold War, yeah, like Chris says, probably the S6. That's interesting, Justin. Those were originally live grenades, but now deact. Oh, that's very interesting, you know. I did not know that, but that stuff like that's fascinating. I'll be off in a couple of minutes, by the way. Oh, okay, yeah, let me search that up then, Andre. So I'll get what you mean a bit more if I watch the video. Which one are 105 shells? Oh, like the big artillery shells? That's kind of cool, though, isn't it? That they keep ringing and ringing and ringing. Yeah, so, well, the blue markings on that one, the Hungarian stick grenades are meant to be practice ones, but if you actually look at the grenade, like all the body in that, it's got all the arming stuff in there, so I don't know. Oh yeah, Lager DDR, which I probably butchered the pronunciation of, but yeah, let me have a look at that. Vilega. Was it Vilega rather than Vilaga? Vilega DDR. It's like I've seen there's pictures coming up. Oh yeah, there's some cool ones of them with the NBC gear on. Tell Chamberlain peace in our time, he actually believes you. Not, you couldn't legally do it email, and you couldn't do it with these anyway because they're deact too thoroughly. Ah, that's interesting, Shot Zombie. But those are both Eastern Bloc things. One's red, one's blue. So that would actually make more sense than Shot Zombie saying that. Because, yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's a live style mechanism, although it's deact in the those. But the F1 grenades have the hole in anyway. The F1s are Soviet ones. Both the ones I've got, well, they're Polish, but they both got that. The Hungarian stick grenades, Hungarian, but yeah. It would make sense then, because, yeah, the red ones will be the deact ones there, and the blue ones will be the live ones. All right, fair enough, Batman. Right, I'll be off now. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. It's been quite a fun stream tonight. One day this week I'll be doing an alternative history stream, but I don't know what day yet. I'm out tomorrow, so there might be a stream in the evening, there might not. It depends what time I get home. If I don't do a stream tomorrow, I'll definitely do on Thursday, but if I do a stream tomorrow, I might not do on Thursday again to get a day off. That's all right, Shot Zombie. I'll make sure I wear the M56 helmet again now on an upcoming stream. Why not? Because I know you like it, and I can't find any Blumenthal yet, so there you go. Right, anyway, see you, everybody, and I will be on tomorrow, potentially. If I'm not on tomorrow, I'll be on Thursday or vice versa. Right. I'll let you know, though, tomorrow if I'm going to be on or not. So, yeah, bye.